That heifer right there just don't even care.
Save yourself now.
Heard it. We're live.
Wow.
What do you say, folks? We appreciate y'all coming into our early edition on this Sunday evening. Mr. Mark Miller, told us you coming in late. She said, "This is your show."
I'm still the talks the most on this show.
But yeah, you're coming in an hour early. Mr. Mark, he got to get up early and go to work, but he's still gracious enough to come on and talk Queens and
We're gonna learn something tonight, y'all.
yes, the
I forgot how to use mine.
VSH. I keep wanting to say VHS on everything, but I will say we had a good talk the other day on the phone,
Yeah,
and
we really did.
had a good fellowship.
Mhm.
I learned me a lot. I will say, and I even told Mark this, that I was kind of, I guess, one of them skeptics on the Queens and the VSH and all that. But like I told him, that's ignorance on my part for not going in and doing the research.
That was mostly just we didn't know anything about it.
But I told him, I said, if you don't mind, just dummy things down for me. And he broke it all down and kind of got into the science to where I could understand a little bit of what the goal is, what the purpose is, and especially what Mr. Mark Miller's goal is, his ultimate goal. Lord willing, we can get him to share a piece of what his ultimate goal is as far as why he goes and takes and trying to build these genetics on these queens to be Varroa resistant. Yes. But
Jasper's trying to get his screen time in already.
Jasper trying to suck up because he got his little tail in trouble. Chewing on the doggone trim around the door because we won't let him out. So he's having separation anxiety and dabble. Well,
us Southern folks are a little slower.
That's right. Yes, sir. Break it down for me.
We resemble them comments.
Yes, we do. Not resemble. But we got Russell, Eamon, DC, Lee, Bob, Walker, Brian. Who'd you say? Randy?
Randy Clinging Farms, not the Tar Heel Randy.
Okay. I got to check both of you Russells too, because I think y'all got different colors. That's how I recognize y'all. Koopman and Eamon. Yeah, because you got Russell, and you don't want to get them confused. But that's kind of like all the mics we have in here. Somebody mentioned that the other day. At all the mics, MIKE. But yeah, we appreciate everybody coming in. But chit chat just a minute. Mr. Mark be in here shortly, and but
yes,
we do have. Okay, I put a star by Mr. McNally right there. We get into prayer list and all that here in a short list, but story time.
He's starting early, y'all.
We had a pretty good week. The little old nuke we went and got. They flying happy little bees out there going to get their pollen or whatever else, and we didn't get into anybody. But we did have a day or two. But Thursday and Friday, we kind of got finished up a little bit early. I was able to take Thursday, Friday off. So I got out there and done the dreaded task of cleaning frames, scraping propolis, putting boxes up, and all that good mess, and only got about halfway through. It took me almost all day to get what little bit I got, and I still got, Lord mercy, 6 or 8 boxes out there to finish up with frames. But trying to think which one I want to go with first. Now, hey, you SEC folks, Auburn lost last night. Are probably going to make some of you LSU fans a little upset with this one, but I'm glad LSU lost. Like any other time, I'd pull for LSU, but that touchdown they give them in Alabama.
Yeah.
Stayed up late last night, seen Bob come on. I was like, well, we ain't going to catch this one. No offense, anybody, but watching the ball game. Well, Hannah, our house is a house divided to kind of make you understand. Y'all understand this a little bit, but it is a house divided when it comes to this time of year
Yeah.
in the football. She was born and raised hardcore Auburn. I was born and raised.
I don't know that I'd call it a hardcore Auburn. I'm not gonna wear an Alabama t-shirt. That's the main thing.
She don't like Alabama. Any. Roll Tide. But
Can't say that word.
So no, she refuses to say them. I always try to be nice and say, hey, War Eagle, let's watch Auburn. She ain't gonna say no Roll Tide, y'all.
Well, I can keep from trash talking his team when they're playing. I mean, I can stay civil in the room with an Alabama game on, but I'm not about to say them worse.
But we watched the Auburn game and they said there's a point to all this. We'll get into bees here shortly. But we sat down and the Auburn game come on regular TV. So we turned it on. We sit there watching it on the big TV. Well, later on, Alabama goes playing at 8 o'clock last night. And
this is Sunday. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I cheated and somebody had it live on YouTube. So I'm sitting there with my phone. She don't want to hear that ball game much except for unless they're losing.
It's not the case.
But she's got these wireless earbuds that she wears quite often at work. And I told her, I said, let me borrow them things. And, I can listen to the ball game here and you can watch your show. Well, we go and we get comfortable in bed. She's got the TV on, sitting there watching, and I got the phone propped up on my legs, watching the Alabama game. Well, before I know it, she done dozed on off, and apparently I wasn't too far behind her as far as dozing off. But somewhere in between me dozing off and waking up, I don't know how long I was asleep, but it was long enough the ball game was still on. Let me tell you something, people. I had them earbuds blaring in my ears before I went to sleep. It was pretty loud. I doze off. And all of a sudden, I wake up to 20,000 people screaming in my head. Scared the ever-loving mess out of me. I come up, I snatched them earbuds out, and I went and set them things on the counter in the bathroom, turned everything off, and I went my tail to bed. But,
he was done.
Yeah. But
it was hilarious.
It was. I told her
it was hilarious. They kind of made up for his stunt he pulled yesterday morning prior to all this happening.
That was my next one.
Mm-hmm.
And this ain't a planned conversation either. It's just I told her.
It's totally unscripted.
But yeah, we had a little incident here yesterday.
No, we did not have an incident here yesterday.
Me and Jasper.
Buttons here had an incident yesterday.
She went over there yesterday morning, sit and talk with her daddy, have coffee on the porch. There'd been some beautiful mornings down here. And seen several y'all. I got to watching Mr. Ed's live. And talking back and forth to Lee and a couple others in there. I think one of the Russells was in and some other folks and chit-chatting in there. Well, I realized I'm out of tea. I got to make me some tea. So I got phone in hand. I go in kind of half blind, if you will.
What he means by that is he ain't paying a lick of attention to what he's doing at this point.
My main goal was not to spill my tea water. So I reach over real quick, turn the stove on, get my tea water, put it on the eye. Well, I come and sit back down, get back in the chat with everybody, listen to Mr. Ed and what he was yakking about. Well, all of a sudden, I get this little hint of smoke. And about the time I get this hint of smoke, I turn around and this loud screeching noise of the smoke detector starts going off.
Oh yeah, when he's got a little hint of a smell of smoke, the fire alarm's already going off at this point.
Well,
oh my gosh.
We keep a, what do you call that thing?
It's a pie pan.
A
metal pie pan.
Yeah, all right. We keep this metal pie pan.
No, Lee, he didn't even burn water. He
I didn't even turn it. No, the water was still cold.
It's even worse than that. The man who was a volunteer firefighter for 20 years. Yeah, just keep that in mind.
Well, smoke detector screaming like crazy.
Yeah.
Well, about 30 seconds into that, Jasper starts yapping, howling, carrying on. Then here goes the other dog, Stella. She starts chiming in on all of it. Hannah's next door over there.
Yeah.
And
thank God. Hannah's next door.
Ain't that true? I look over, and as everything, I'm calculating everything in my head, what the world's going on. I look at the stove, and I had set that pie pan upside down on one of the big eyes. Well, that baby, whenever I got up and got, by the time a second or two, we got to the stove.
A second or two.
That rascal was red hot. I'm talking
we
about.
all know that happens in a second or two. Oh my gosh.
Well,
this is what you call a tall tale in the South, y'all.
There's truth in this.
The
this is all
version
true.
he's trying to tell you is the tall tale.
And there's truth in it. But I get over there and I see the thing is just blazing red hot. So I'm looking around for a towel or something that hit me. It's like, no, dummy, you're going to burn your hand, the towel, and everything on here. But y'all's the smoke was boiling off. It burnt up. Whatever.
The pie pan's gone.
Yeah, it's destroyed.
It is no more.
So thankfully, she's got a little island by the stove, and it hit me. Grab her little hot handle deals.
Mm-hmm.
So I reach in there real quick, grab me two of them babies, turn that one eye off, turn my tea on.
Finally.
Yeah.
Turn the tea water on.
Well, I got the pie pan. I'm standing there a second, and I'm like, well, if I throw it out in the yard, it's so dry, it's going to catch everything on fire. Well, anyhow, I had to get it out of the house. So finally.
You're not going to tell him what your thought was?
I looked at the sink, and I was like, well, I could throw it in the sink, but then it's probably going to do something to that doggone stainless, and it's already enough I got to explain whenever she gets here.
We never thought to turn the water on in the sink.
No, I didn't. I did not think to turn the water on to cool it off. I looked at it and I was like, that ain't going to work. So went for the front door, took that baby outside, and I found me a dry spot of dirt about 4 foot round. And I just frisbeed that rascal right off the front porch. Well, me not thinking, she's got to walk right past all that coming home.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, 5-10 minutes rolls by after the dogs, y'all get it, the dogs are still carrying on and scraping. Well,
Yeah.
I finally get the fan and I get it up by the smoke detector. Finally get that thing hushed up. So immediately, here comes the old training kicked in finally. We got to ventilate this house. So I threw all the windows open, chunked the fan in the window, trying to pull all this mess out of the house before she gets home. And about halfway through all this, I turn and look and she's standing there at the door with that look of like, what are you doing? And immediately I had to go to explaining. Well, I didn't know this part during all the excitement until this morning. But she come in and she said, hey,
I
you,
found the evidence you had.
yeah, you burned it up. I was like, well, I did not realize I done it. But
No.
here we are.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Brian said he had a fire in the back of his truck, a small fire.
mm-mm.
So, yeah, that just started off our weekend
No, it did.
in a great way.
Because nothing turned. Well, you know how it goes. You plan, you're going to do this is what we're going to do. No, it's always the complete opposite on what the original plan is, turning something different. But,
No.
who else we going to
Todd
Larimore
came
come
in
in.
and Jane did, and Larimore.
Good deal.
Yeah,
Just
a few people.
y'all, the goldenrod is really, really starting to get it down here. Or open up.
Big time. We tried to put some feed out, and they're not even touching open feed at all.
They ain't touching the sugar water. I went out and I done a little bit of 1-to-1 on the sugar water and apis mix. And got all that put up. And we finally jarred up that last gallon and some change on the honey the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And had, I don't know, just a little bit what was in some cappings we had stuck down in the jar or in the jug. But took all that stuff out, went and sat it out where we do the open feed. Come back the next morning, the only thing on it was ants. So undoubtedly there's some showing up plenty for them to be pulling in.
Yeah.
Good. They don't want the honey, and they ain't fooling with the apis and sugar water right now. But they done that to us last year, about this time of the year as well, and they really didn't start taking that feed until say about November when they kind of started pulling on it. But like we was talking a while ago,
There's a lot of.
Well, there's a lot of goldenrod, and either I just didn't pay a whole bunch of attention last year, or it seems that down around here there's a whole lot more of a floral bloom this year. There's all kind of stuff blooming on the side of the highway. Just pretty stuff. I couldn't tell you what half of it is, but it just seems to be more of a wildflower, if you will, foliage this year. Because the goldenrod last year, it come in pretty good, but I think we got a whole lot more rain last year, and that put us in a bind. But this year now, we
a whole lot less rain.
Yeah, we was talking to one of the big landowners around here the other day, and he said, Tim, we're 24 inches in the deficit on rain. He said, I'm basically having to dig wells and shuttle water pretty much to get to his cattle ponds. He said they pretty well drying up. Then the low springs are starting to dry up, so his ponds are drying up. The Lord willing, we'll get some rain, but I hope it don't mess up the the goldenrod or wildflower run, but we definitely need some rain.
Lemon squash.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think so. Let me check this here. If this is our guest, we'll go ahead and get that man on in here.
Yeah.
It
That's
sure
who
will.
they're waiting on.
That's it. All right, here's the man we've been waiting on, y'all. Get these buttons going. There we go. What's that, Mr. Mark?
Miss
Hi,
Mark.
Tim. Hi, Hannah. How are y'all?
Good. Hang on.
We have to turn you up a little bit.
Yes.
All right, there we go.
Maybe.
I think we got you now. You doing all right this evening, Captain?
I'm doing good. I apologize to y'all because I can't read the comments, so Tim will have to read them out to me.
Bob and Lee are picking on you already.
Are they?
Lee said
So,
he's all dressed up. Bob said he wore a shirt.
yeah.
But Bob said he had some kind of ivy. What he was trying to say.
Oh, Mr. Mark, before we get into it, we're gonna run through our prayer list real quick. Then
Okay.
we'll get into the fellowship.
You know that.
You want me
I
to
can
go
hear
through?
you
Okay.
better.
All right. We still got our good brother Keith on here. Seen him. Larimore Farms. Mr. Mark Miller. Still praying for Earl. Hillbilly Beekeeping.
He's in here.
Miss Chris. Ed.
No, Earl.
Oh, Earl was in here. Oh, hey, Earl. Good to see you. Miss Chris, Ed's wife. Then I'd heard on either Bob or Charlie's live the other night, James McNally is doing pretty good from his surgery that he had. Mr. Pat, Dirt Rooster's daddy. TJ, Hanley's Homestead. Brian from Flower Street. Charlie, Sawmill Charlie. Deb, the Sun Bunny. Jason Cooper, Bob's friend. Definitely need to keep this gentleman in our prayers.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Weaver's niece, folks out there still dealing with that mess in Hawaii. Lisa, ain't that's
That's
Grammy?
her granddaughter.
Okay, Grammy's granddaughter is unspoken. Bob's family, especially his mama, he had mentioned the other night that I reckon they could get to the point of having to call hospice in and take care of those needs. Yes.
Specifically.
Okay, I'm gonna hold up just a second on that. Y'all, unless you've been a caretaker, or gentlemen, if you have watched your woman be a caretaker, that is a heavy, heavy load for any individual to carry.
Mm-hmm.
No matter the situation, where it's something like you dealing with Bob or you got a child with a disability. That's a heavy burden for folks. So keep those people in your, everybody in your prayers, but kind of just strength more or less for those caretakers.
Yeah, for sure.
Tom McApairy, his pa-in-law, Randy Sutherland, Tar Heel, Southern, I'm sorry. Our friend Mr. Donnie Purvis. Tim Bailey, Boone County Beekeeper. Is that Ray Bruce?
Ray Bruce's
family.
family.
Yeah, Mr. Mark's mentor. Michael Tangway's wife. Spanky's co-worker, and then Chris the Bug Man said he got a case of that sickness running around.
Mm-hmm.
But y'all, that's the folks on our prayer list for this week, and y'all please continue to pray for these people. And I imagine there's many unspoken out there as well, because we've got them.
For sure.
But we'll get into our conversation here. Mr. Mark, like I was kind of telling folks in the beginning, I don't know if he was watching when we first come on or not, but absolutely enjoyed the fellowship on the phone the other day. Man, that was a blessing. But admitting to you and admitting to us, admitting to others here that my ignorance and what the whole point of raising these queens up to be VSH and all that. I kind of had my doubts on some things, but like I told folks, I'm glad you dummied it down for me and explained things to me, and it gave me, a much, much better understanding of why folks are doing this, and I know and why you're doing it. What you was telling us, your ultimate goal for yourself and future, as far as these queens being Varroa resistant and being within the genetics and all. But if you don't mind, for folks that may not know, you can just kind of go from the beginning, if you will, like you broke it down to me, as far as how y'all figure out the genetics and doing the numbers, and we'll just kind of build off that.
Well, VSH has been around a while. The thing is, back in the day, I think it really wasn't that great. And of course, you all know Corey Stevens, and Corey's been working at it for over a decade now. And I kind of fell in there and was watching Corey early on, several years back, seeing what he was doing. And I was like, y'all, I thought VSH was just a bee that would just put up with the mites, and just live with them and be able to live with them, until I figured out that these bees go in there and they get the mite out and carry it and put it out the door. And that amazed me. And like I said, I got to watching what Corey was doing, and I'm like, this guy here, he is spot on. That's exactly what I want. Is I want a host resistance. I want them bees to be able to take care of it themselves. And then I got to figuring out, well, what I look for. So I went out there one day and I noticed I thought I had VSH, but I really didn't. They were uncapping, they were doing the uncapping. And I called Corey up. I said, Corey, is this VSH? He said, well, they've got the uncapping gene, but it don't sound like they're carrying them out the door. So as time went on, what happened was that was in the fall, and it was too little too late. They were run over with mites and they were uncapping, but it was too little too late. They had done been overrun, you know. So I knew I wanted to some stronger VSH. So I called Corey up. I said, well, we're going to do this thing. Just send me some virgins and send me a breeder queen. And let's just see what happens from there. And it's real, guys. They go in there and they'll find that mama mite having babies, and they will pluck her out, that larva out, and carry it out the door. I've sat and watched them do it. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to keep breeding off of these and keep breeding off of them, and mix them with mine and see what happens. And hopefully maybe I'll get that trait, and now the F1s that I have bred early in the year, they're washing zeros. Now the later ones, like my July splits, I'm still doing maintenance to them. They're still kind of small, so I'm not even washing them yet. I'll just wait and let them see if they get through the winter first. But that's kind of where I'm at with it. Just picking from the best and breeding from them, breeding from this breeder queen still. And I thought, well, in order to pay for this breeder queen, I don't call myself a breeder. I'm far from being a breeder. I'm more of a queen rearer. I rear queens. I don't get them bred because I don't have time to get out here and run 200 or 300 mating boxes, pluck the queens out of them, and drop more cells in, and run all the beehives I've got
Mhm.
and then work too.
Mhm.
So a rearer is somebody that buys breeder queens and then rears the queens and then sells them queens to other people to help spread that genetics. One
Mhm.
man can't do it all himself.
Mhm.
They would love to, but they can't do it all themselves. So it kind of distributes out the workload a little bit. You know, I sell to my friends and they talk it up to their friends, and then it just keeps going on down the line. It takes several people get involved to get the genetics spread. Okay,
Mhm.
not just me. It takes several. And I think it's a great thing. It's not a silver bullet by no means.
Mhm.
It's not. A lot of people think, well, I'll buy these VSH and then I won't have to treat. Well, that's might be possible. But if you'll keep up with your mite washes, that's basically all you've got to do. You can
Mhm.
carry it on further the way I do it and do a Harbo test and whatnot. But if you'll just do your mite washes and number each one of them colonies
Mhm.
and watch them and breed off of them zeros, them ones that are keeping them mites down,
Mhm.
you'll keep that trait in your apiary. But if
Mhm.
you don't, it's eventually it's just going to get washed away. It's going to
Yeah.
dwindle away.
Mhm.
Um,
You was kind of explaining a little bit to me too, uh, how y'all do them. Now, if I'm wrong, please correct me. But like doing those counts, you were saying you took a whole frame out, and you y'all or whoever does it, getting these genetics going, will go through these frames and what pull them caps back and pull them brood and do a count.
Mhm.
right. They have to be a certain age. They have to be just about ready to hatch, you know, in that purple eyed stage, more or less.
Mhm.
That gives that female mite long enough to be able to have baby mites, right? So
Mhm.
you know you're plucking out the right ones and you're looking and it don't matter if it's drones or worker brood. Either way, you
Mhm.
can, you know, pluck them out and try to find them mama mites having babies. That's what you want the bees to be after. And you score them. Like if you find one that has a mama mite in there having babies, then you mark it. If you
Mhm.
find one that has a mite in there but no babies, then you mark it a non-reproductive mite, and
Mhm.
so on and so on. You do that out of 100. Say you don't find any reproductive mites out of 100, then go to 200 and go to 300 and go to 400 until you find one and mark that queen as so. Score her. After you tally it all up, you want the best scores out of your bunch. Now it's very, very time consuming doing all this. And it's boring, boring work. This UBO spray that should be coming out this next year is going to make it easy, so much easier on people that are trying to do what we're doing.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's great. It's going to make my job so much easier.
Yeah.
And you can still treat your whole apiary and still do this to see if you have it. And because if you treat and you're checking, then you're getting a false record, right? Because you've already
Mhm.
killed all the mites in there. So
Mhm.
I don't like letting my apiary run over with mites, right? So what I'm doing is I don't treat from spring all the way until after I pull my honey, and that's when I'm at my highest mite load, and I need to be treating at that point, right? So that's when I'm pulling brood and doing my checks then. The
Mhm.
only problem with that is I'm treading backwards because I've got to wait all year and hopefully they she makes it through the winter before I can raise queens from her.
Mhm.
So with the UBO spray coming on, I won't have to do that no more. That's going to be great. It's going to
Mhm.
help out a lot. And I believe these genetics will be, I think a lot of people will have them in their apiary and they won't even know it if they'll use this and check their bees. I firmly believe that. A lot of people are guilty. I've been guilty of the same thing of not doing your mite washes. You know, you'll go through, if you've got 10 colonies, you'll do 2 of them and say, well, I'm tired. I'm not doing this. I know I've got to treat anyway. It's so easy to do that, right? And nobody wants to check every one of them, but it does pay off in the long run. It pays off.
Yes. One of the things that got me was that tedious going through there and pulling that brood and checking and trying to find, you know, if there's a laying female as far as the varroa in there is what you're looking for, right?
Right.
And but then that's kind of where my eyes started opening on things. There's a whole lot more to it, obviously, than I ever realized. And you said, you know, you doing it for 10 years now, kind of just piddling around. You started your bees about 10 years ago. You know, you're getting into these queens the last few years. And you was honest enough to say, you know, I'm tinkering with this, but I ain't no, you know, professional, if you will, or, you know, no Corey Stevens. You know, you're trying to get to that level. But
I don't have all the answers by no means. You know, I'm learning just like everybody else, and I'll continue to learn for sure. I just thank God Corey got into it 10 years ago, and he's where he's at now. See, he jumped me ahead. Instead of me picking from my colonies and having really low VSH, he jumped me ahead 10 years. Boom. You know, now I have it. Now I'm breeding from the F1s that are scoring zeros. And I'm spreading them out. You know, I'm not trying to make a killing off of them. I've got a job. I don't have to sell them if I don't want to, but I want to spread these genetics. I want everybody to have them. I think they're great. If it could save you the money of having if you've got 50 colonies out there and you spend $8 on every colony to treat one time, and that's no guarantee it's going to kill all your mites. Just one time. If you just knocked off one treatment a year, the bees have paid for themselves right there.
Well, yes, and saving on your treatments and all. Yes, sir.
Right.
And Lord willing, you know, Corey and gentlemen like yourself and ladies as well that's kind of tinkering and trying to do this, that like you said at the end of our conversation the other day, that the goal is to have it where they'll be in your yard and, Lord willing, feral out in the wild as well, because you know, you want to keep down swarming, don't get me wrong, but you were saying too, I'm not worried about if one of those swarms gets out and gets into, you know, 5-10 miles down the road, wherever they may go, make up homestead there, then those genetics kind of build and grow. And you kind of start getting that out in the wild too. But we can't, I guess, back up a little bit, because it just interested me a good deal. Going through all that tediousness and everything, that's kind of where y'all start figuring out, okay, I need to pay attention to this queen. And you kind of start deciphering, well, this bunch, she did way better than this one, so we're going to work. You got 10 queens, we'll say. 6 of them are doing well. Those are the 6 that you want to begin eyeballing and taking those genetics and making stronger.
That's what you want to rear queens off for the next season. You know, for on down the road, you want to rear queens from them good ones, right? But you also want her to score good if you can. If she can score high, that's the one you want to raise queens from. Them ones that are shaking zeros.
Then just taking those genetics and mixing them up with, well, especially if you get to the point where you're doing that artificial insemination. then you
Yeah,
can
see,
really kind of.
I'm nowhere near that yet, but at the level I'm at, you have to learn, number one, to raise virgins. You have to learn how to hatch them out. In order to artificially inseminate, them queens have to be about 7 days old. They have to be mature enough to be able to inseminate them, right? So you have to learn that. You also have to learn how to take care of breeder queens. It's you want them, you don't really want them laying like crazy because you want to save that. You want them laying a little bit, just enough to keep that colony going. You don't want her to use all her eggs up in 1 year because you might want to keep her for 3 or 4 years.
And one other thing, buddy, you can get into some money when it comes to these queens, from what you're telling me.
Yeah, you sure
$5
can.
jokers now.
There's a lot of time and effort that goes into this. A lot of your colleges have studied it. They have studied everything, trying to get some sort of a host resistant, the ankle biters, and the list goes on and on and on. But I feel like the VSH is the holy grail of the host resistance. If you can keep them mites from reproducing it in that hive, you've accomplished the goal. They're not going to make it. That's it. They're done. You're still going to get mites, yes, but if they keep them from populating in there, they can't live. They got to go somewhere else. They can hang out in there, but that's all they're going to do.
Mark Bryan from Flower Street wants to know, do you have drone yards?
What I've got, Brian, is I've got 50 acres here, and at one end of my farm I've got bees, and at the other end of my farm I've got bees, and that's all I do here. And they're probably what, eighth of a mile apart is all. And yes, sometimes my mating is better certain times of the year, right? And sometimes it's not. So it would help if I had more drones spread out around. Yeah. But I'm really not trying to sell mated queens. I'm just mating queens for myself. That's it. I sell virgins. And if I was trying to mate 200 of them at one time, fine. What I have is I've got 10 frame boxes that I've got three framers built in that 10 frame box, right? And when I graft every week for about 15 weeks, unless something comes up and I can't get out there and do it, right? Now, in order to pay for them breeder queens, I'm trying to sell a few virgins along. If I sell 20 this week and I've grafted 30, well, I've got 10 extras if they don't all die. So this week I may put 10 in the mating boxes. Okay. I'm not trying to get 100 of them bred all at one time. The next week I may only have 5 that I want to put in breeder boxes, and so on and so on. I'm not trying to get all 100 of them bred at one time. Does that make any sense, Brian?
I might say, but kind of like you saying, you it's not so much the dollar in doing. You're trying to make that better genetic, but right now you're not fooling with the whole. I want to make sure they're mated queens whenever they leave the yard. If you want one from me and I got an extra, here's a virgin. Kind of build off of it in your yard as you will.
Right. Get them mated in your yard. If I sold mated queens, you're getting my queens with the genetics, right? If I send you a queen and you have her mated in your yard, you're getting your local bees plus them genetics, and you build off of that. You see what I mean?
That's it. next year hatch you out some queen cells and some virgins off of them, split off them.
Right.
That's what Keith Larimore just asked. Do you sell the virgins so they can cross with drones in different apiaries that you sell to?
Right.
So
Exactly.
he pretty much just answered it
See, look,
right as he put it up there.
I'm gonna go ahead and open this up. Brian, any of y'all want to come in? Because I know Brian said he probably had.
Earl said he got a chocolate VSH queen.
A chocolate VSH.
Yeah.
Does she make chocolate honey?
Yeah. Ooh, I bet that'd be pretty good, though. All right. Get that thing in there, bam. Get her to pin it, and any of y'all want to come in and pick Mr. Mark's brain because he does have to get up early, y'all. So we ain't gonna hold him too terribly long on
Yeah,
things.
y'all.
But
I gotta get up at midnight, and I gotta be in that truck rolling at 1 o'clock in the morning. So.
yes, sir. So y'all feel free to come on, and if you got the questions on them, Lord willing, he'll have the good answer. If not, I imagine he can find it for you.
Come on in here, Brian, and talk to me. I know you got a question.
Oh, you gotta do a video. I want to see this chocolate VSH queen.
Yeah, Earl, put one out. Let us see this chocolate girl you got.
He said she's funny looking.
Now,
I don't care what color it is. That doesn't matter to me if they have what I'm looking for. Now, what I want in my apiary may not be what you want in your apiary, right? So that's one reason why I say if you have enough hives to get queens mated, mate them with your bees. Don't buy mated queens from somebody else. You don't know what you're getting half the time, unless it's somebody you really know good, and that's the type of bees you want.
Yeah.
You know, some people want bees that brood up all year. I really don't want that, but I have that in the VSH trait. I'm looking for a bee that's very, very frugal with their stores. Don't start till late. I don't want them brooding up. I don't want to have to do all them splits early unless I have to, unless I've got a bunch sold. Don't get me wrong. I still want some that do that, but I don't want all of them doing that. And then I want them bust loose, come honey flow, and I want them to produce good. I want them to be gentle and go through the winter with not eat up all their stores and then die out on me.
what are some of those not so frugal genetics? Is it like the Carney? You hear? I think at DC or a couple others talk about they're not. They're
Your
way more
Italians,
frugal.
the Italians are well known for eating you out of house and home. They're very well known for it. I have a love relationship with them. I love them and I hate them at the same time.
Bob said I have creamers coming soon.
Yeah, there you go. So I know nobody can definitely put a number on anything, Miss Martin. This may be kind of just a little far-fetched question to ask, but what is a possible timeline if people got a little more educated on it and started trying to get these genetics out and having them in their yard, especially? But is it something that could potentially be done in our lifetime or another generation or two to be set on things?
You talking about having it everywhere or just in your yard?
Are pretty close to everywhere, if you will, enough to where we could say, hey, look, I know for sure these girls are,
I
I guess
feel
to the
like
point where you're getting overpopulated with queens with it, I reckon.
I feel like it's the future. And I don't feel like it's going to be very long now in years, that mites are just going to be another one of them things. Honestly, I think that soon, real soon, we're going to see queens that are rear young that will take care of these mites. It's they're already out there. I have some. I know Corey has some. They're already there. It's just a matter of getting them spread and getting them in everybody's yard and people understanding what's going on.
Let me back up here a second. Minnesota Mike had a question or comment. Mark, my Italian teacher always produced the last cuz are the least because they're eating my money.
Hmm. That's Italians for you. See, I'm breeding my Italians with my carnies, and I'm already seen a difference. They're not near. They don't eat near as much as they used to as the regular Italians. But these F1s that I'm breeding with a mix of my carnies, right? They're more frugal than they were.
Yeah.
Mark Amir wants to know, are you going to buy Randy Oliver queens?
Randy is in the game. He has started doing what everybody's doing. You know, several years ago he said it was a bunch of bull. If you remember that. But he jumped into the game and he has it in his apiary, right? And he has a lot of different queens to pick from. And he's washing zeros now, and he sees that it is real. It does work. I don't follow Randy, but he's a very, very intelligent guy.
Mike followed up too, but he meant Italian queen, not the Saskatchewan.
He says that Italian queens have the lowest mite count, but the lowest honey production as well. Let's see, Honeystone here. So they're working with Corey's queens this year and look forward to breeding next year.
Russell had a question.
Okay. Go ahead, Mark.
If you order virgins from Corey, you get a mix of virgins. You don't get them just off of one queen, right? You're getting a mix of his breeder queens. He has lots of breeder queens. He does it AI himself, right? I only have one breeder queen that I started off with. And I've got F1s from her that have mixed with mine. And now I'm checking them and breeding off of them too, right? To keep this going the way I want it to go instead of just breeding all of them off of her.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Russell Koopman. Brian at Castle Hive says the VSH bees are too mean for him. How are yours?
Well, I ain't near as big as a sissy as he is. They don't bother me if they fly up in my face. I don't want them eating me up. Don't get me wrong. But if they just flying around checking me out, I don't have a problem with that. Bees are bees. I don't want them to be sissies and just lay there on that frame and do nothing. In my opinion, they're doing nothing. I don't want them running like crazy, all hyped up either. Okay? You have laziness and you have bees that are working. If they're working on that frame and they're busy, that's different from just running around.
Let's see. Got another one from Brian at Flower Street. Says Mark going to get new Corey Stevens VSH queen to breed from next year. That's question. Then another line of breeder queen. Question.
Well, I was looking into some lines this year, some carny lines. My problem is I drive a truck and my time is limited, right? So the people I work for sold out to a new company. Now I don't really know how my schedule is going to play out. So I don't know if I'm going to have as much time or what's going to happen. So I just backed off from that ideal, and I'm gonna lay with this and see what I'm doing, and give it another year and see how it pans out for me.
Mhm.
Because I've got some good queens. I've had good queens to start with before I ever got into Corey's, right? They just weren't real high VSH. They had a little, but not like I wanted. Do I plan on getting some more Corey's? Yes, yes. Me and Corey does a little bit of trading. I'll do some virgins for him later in the year so he can get some AI out of them, because he's so booked up, you know. So we do a little trading along.
You said you pretty much have to plan the way your schedule was to do your grafting and everything on a Monday or Tuesday. Then
Right.
there wasn't just no you could go out there and dive into stuff. You really have to plan ahead.
You have to keep a set schedule in order to graft every week.
Mhm.
I always, with my schedule I have now, I would get in about lunchtime on Tuesday. So I would graft on Tuesday. Um, and then they would hatch late Saturday night or early Sunday morning, and I could ship them out on Monday. So
Mhm.
that worked out pretty good. I don't know how this new company is going to be, if they're going to keep what I'm doing going. If they do, it's going to work out great for me. If they don't, it's going to change everything. We'll just have to see.
Mhm. Mhm.
Let's see, Russell Koopman, he said, I hope you can get some Carney blood in Corey's VSH.
Yeah, Corey is working on some darker bees too. I'm not the only one that's looking that way.
Mhm.
There's several people that are looking at it, because you really need both. I think, in a small apiary like mine, I like having the Italians to sell some nukes early. If I sell 10 nukes early, I can get them from the Italians pretty quick.
Mhm.
Um, but yet I don't want to have to feed every one of them colonies every year.
Right.
That's another thing with me. I don't feed a lot. Of course, I have uh, July splits, them late ones that I have to keep maintenance up on because they're so little. But my other colonies, I don't do a lot of feeding. Uh, it's just time consuming for me.
Well, you kind of southward too, but just north of us, if you will. But like this year is showing signs again, and last year, even we try to open feed. Don't get me wrong. Whenever we're in a heavy dearth, now years 4-1, buddy, there'd be thousands of them bees out there at that doggone feeder.
Mhm.
I mean, you couldn't beat them off. But last year, and it seems to be going into this year again, that there's been just enough of a trickle somewhere that, like me and Hannah was talking earlier, I was cleaning them frames and all that stuff up, and some of them was from the beetle slime outs, but we probably could have harvested honey, but I just wasn't going to
That's
take the chance.
questionable.
Right.
So there was a few frames we had left, and a couple of them were beautiful, but we said, well, we'll just let the bees rob it out, and you know, we'll go back out there tomorrow and pick everything up. Well, since the last slime out's been well, probably over a month or so now, and a couple of them frames are still full, still capped.
Mhm.
You know, they ain't even tried to pull off those frames. So
Right.
our feeding, if we do any, it's way late
This
in the
year.
season.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to plug that nest up. You want them
Yeah.
right
Mhm.
now to lay all they can, but you want them to have enough to eat too, right? You want them,
Mhm.
but you don't want to plug that nest up either. Now here, that that is just about to be over with. It ain't gonna be much longer as far as laying up. They're gonna
Mhm.
start slowing down here. Our nectar flow now is last week was wide open, but it's starting to slow down now.
Yeah.
We sure hoping we do a little. I guess enough to get them through the winter. We don't touch them anyway. We've been like that anyhow. Whatever they get for its fall run, that's all yours, and we ain't gonna fool with you till spring. But
Right.
Well, we can pull a little bit. We'll get us like a few dollars to put up.
well,
That's
yeah.
all, I mean, we don't take a full harvest by any means, but
No, well, yeah. I guess let me take some of that back. Last year we did, but we went through and pulled just a frame or two, and we were sitting on 14, 15 colonies out there. This year, if we look outside now, we got 3 in boxes and one 40 foot up in the tree that made an open air colony. So, yeah, most definitely ain't gonna. We try not to fool with them. I guess is what I'm trying to say on that. But I reckon some folks do get a good enough flow where you can go out there and and pull some honey. I reckon.
I mean, even Lee talks about getting goldenrod harvest.
Well, there ain't no
Yeah,
telling.
People do.
I drive a lot in Arkansas. When you get over here in the Delta, see they've still got 4 or 5 honey boxes on top of their hives over there. Nectar's still rolling in.
That's what I was gonna say. Lee's on them canals and swamps and all that over there, and them deltas. Yeah, they gonna
Yeah,
keep
that
growing.
soil, the soil is just different. It produces a lot more nectar. They get a large honey crop out of that Delta.
Yeah. Where we at? It's just dry up here.
Yeah,
Or even say the Mobile Delta, we're still a good or 45-minute drive to
yeah.
Mobile Bay down there. But uh,
I have a yard just north of here that's sitting next to a watershed. It's the creek is called the Bayou de Chain, and it feeds Reelfoot Lake. It's been feeding it for all this time. Um, but it's all flat there, and it's real rich. It's not very wide like Mississippi River Delta would be, but it's real rich right in there, and the nectar flow is real good there.
Hmm.
it would be nice to get some out there on the Delta somewhere.
Monty was asking again, Mr. Mike, Minnesota beekeeper, wanted to know, do you do late season frame and brood equalization?
Not real late. I don't. I try to get that done really before September if I can. Um, if I have a small one, I usually set them up on top of a larger colony. And now, if they're only 2 or 3 frames, sometimes I'll grab a frame of brood and throw in there. It don't hurt
Mm-hmm.
from a great big old colony. And I'll steal a frame of honey, slide in there. It just buys me of having to worry about, well, have they got enough? Uh, in other words, rob from the rich, give to the poor.
Yes.
Yeah, I do a little of that, but I don't. I'm not. I don't work at it too hard.
Yeah.
Well,
My
you kind of
maintenance right now is mainly them July splits. That's my biggest maintenance right now is getting them up big enough to make it. And they're laying up. It's just you got to have pulled cone, and they don't really have enough bees there to pull a whole lot of cone real fast. So drop a frame of pulled cone in there and feed them real light. You'll be surprised.
Now, this is kind of off the, and I don't know if anybody else has looked into this or kind of studied on it or not, but it just came to mind when you was talking about that comb and having that extra comb. I was reading and doing a little researching on some of the different jobs that nurse bees do. We all know that oftentimes they're feeding the larvae, and cleaning up around the house and doing these different type duties. but kind of got a little more in depth with it on hot bees is what it was. But it's not. I'm not going into the part of you got a hot colony coming out stinging you. But when they're building them cells, whenever they first build that cell, you got a little nurse bee that comes in after those ones that's doing the wax making, and they build that cell. Okay, that one little bee, they call her the hot bee apparently, and she comes in and she rounds that cell out instead of it being, what octagon, whatever it is in there. But she rounds that cell out, and where I'm going with this, we see Mr. Ed talk a lot about. Oftentimes, he has his bees build new comb each year. But you can do it whenever you got a good, healthy colony. We'll just go on that. But having them colonies rebuild every single year, and according to the study I was looking at, that first year of that hot bee going in there, what she does, she gets her body temp up and she runs around inside that thing and she welds basically all that stuff together, but it's more of a circular. And that way, when that queen lays and that brood starts getting up to where they get to capping it off, they got that perfect area to be in. Oh, we got somebody coming in. But it's saying that
It's Mr. Phillip.
Hey, Mark.
Hi, Phillip. I love your outfit, man.
yeah, I just seen that. Wearing that
Come on,
tie.
Mark. You see my name there?
Was that?
You see my name on the screen?
Yeah.
I'm the president of the Mark Miller fan club.
There you go.
But apparently that first year that they make that cell, the brood, according to the studies, does much, much better. The older that comb is, if we use it year after year after year, I guess they add to, and it just by small amounts, that brood cell gets a little bit smaller, a little bit smaller, a little bit smaller.
Every time brood is reared in it, it gets smaller and
Yeah,
dirtier.
and it affects, I guess, the brood not being able to be as more abundant. I guess the smaller that cell gets, the less brood you're going to get, is what I've gathered from it. So, is it best? And I know it's hard to do, especially for first and second year beekeepers, but if you kind of got yourself built up a little bit, scrape them frames down, re-wax them, let them build each year, and especially in that brood chamber, so she'll be able to put that brood out, and those are fresh cells, and that brood can grow as they should.
Yeah. Try to build your nuke cells up a little and rotate that cone. Move them old ones in and then pull your nukes from them older ones and put your newer ones to the side. Bring the older ones in and let her lay up. Rotate that old out. It's not like you're really giving everybody your old cone. It ain't no count. You're just rotating it out. That Bob Benny does that. That's a good deal. I mean, it's a real good deal if you can sell enough nukes to do that.
Yes. Flipping through these comments, my comment watcher stepped out on me. But Ziggy wanting to know, Mark, if you had a colony with the queen problems at this point in the year, would you buy a queen that was only mated approximately in September? Or like I think less to be now instead of trying a possible bad queen?
If I had a queen right now that I thought wasn't doing any good, I'd just paint your head off and take them boxes and put them on some other hives and let them resources help the other hives. What I would do.
Yeah. Especially in this late in the game.
Yeah, this late in the game, requeening would be pretty tough, I think. For me, anyway. Now, down south, it may be different.
Yeah.
You was talking about that cone. I'll tell you something about these VSH Queens. I last year or this summer, I had some old cone that was molded, nasty, old, and I was all I was down to. I didn't have any more, right? So I dropped two of them in one of these high VSH colonies, and thinking, well, they'll clean it up and use it. So I went out there a week later, and this was plastic foundation. I don't even use plastic foundation, or I didn't. I do now. So they had to come in a nuke somewhere way back there when I first started. Like I said, I went back a week later. They tore all the wax off of this plastic and carried it out the hive. They were just nothing but plastic, and they were shining it up. I come back another week later, and they built all new cone on that plastic. They didn't want that nasty stuff in there.
Hmm. So if it don't fit their needs, they'll sure enough go in there and tear that mess out.
They'll tear it out and redo it. Yeah, sure will.
It's something we often trying to figure out what they're doing, but they know what they're doing.
There was something wrong with that cone. I don't know what it was, but they didn't like it. But it's laid up now. They cleaned it and relaid it.
Philip, you got me to thinking, man. I should have went in there and put my overalls on too. And in light of this conversation, it just hit me, man. Dadgummit. Oh, Philip got his overalls on.
You
And
dressed up, didn't you?
I'm gonna make you bit.
I did. I got these going here. I don't have a John Deere hat though. I should. I drove a John Deere for a few years.
That would complete the outfit.
You see his name? Philip Perez, Miller Fan Club.
Military club. That's awesome.
I hate that I missed the first hour, and now that you said that, I do remember you saying it was going to be early, but I just forgot. So I'll go back and look at the rerun. I hope you'll
You're
talk
not
a lot
the
about.
only one that forgot. Like 4:30 this afternoon, it hit us. Oh my gosh, it's not 7 to 9.
Well, and Lee, he texted me. He's texting me message about 10 minutes till. I'm trying to get everything together, and he's like, "Man, yeah, I seen you're an hour behind." And I was like, "Well, yeah, we doing it, trying to." So Mr. Mark ain't got to stay up late and all that good stuff and all, but yeah, I guess we threw everybody off this evening on an hour early. But we got a good crowd. We got 51 in here right now. We appreciate everybody coming in.
Mr. Mark's popular.
Yes, sir.
He brings a big crowd.
Yeah, I guess you guys talked about a lot of queen rearing earlier, I bet.
Well, some of it was Buttons telling about his fiascos of the weekend. But yeah, Mr. Martin, he did tell us a good bit.
It's definitely something that, like I said, I got a different respect for in a good way and a better understanding at the same time for us. And too, like I will admit, is just negligence and ignorance on my end for not taking and going in and studying on it a little bit more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I just look at it like this. We're helping the bees, right? We all want to help the bees. So if we can just kind of speed this up a little bit and get this to where they have some sort of a host resistance, they have a lot better opportunity. If it ain't right now, if it ain't for us treating and taking care of them, they're going to die. They're going to get disease and die. Oh.
Well, like I said, the ultimate goal is to have a healthy colony. No
Right.
matter whether you're dealing with mites or beetles or wax moths or whatever the case may be, we all fighting something, and the ultimate goal, let's have good productive colonies so that we can, whether we're doing this as a mom and pop or you're doing it sideline or commercial, you're trying to get, either you get, like for us, a lot of it is the piece of it, and I fully understand people trying to make a dollar too at the same time. we haven't made it to that point. But somewhere in the mix, the whole point is to have a box full of bees out there and then some, if you can do it.
Wouldn't it be nice to get back to the old days where you just go out there when the honey flow is over with and you get the honey and then put the lid back on them and say, "See you next year, girls."
Yeah. I
Wouldn't that
don't
be
know anything
nice?
about, yeah. I don't know anything about that. You all probably
Okay.
covered it, Mark, but how long have you been messing with the bees?
Oh, let's see. I think about 2011, something like
Oh
that.
yeah. Yeah, it's a good run.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
a whole lot more experience than we do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. My first year, I just got 2 hives and then I made 2 splits off of them, and then got over into the fall and I was watching YouTube videos and Cayman Reynolds was talking about mites and all this. And back in my first year, everything anybody else had, I felt like I had to go check for whatever they said on it. I had to go, I did, oh God, I got to go check for that.
You're being thorough.
But with the mites, I tried to do that. I tried to make me one of those little jars that's screwed together with the screen between it. And
Right.
I used something like hot glue, and as soon as that alcohol hit that, it fell apart.
Yeah, it used to be all we had,
Yeah, I tried to do a mite wash, and I ended up maybe getting 100 bees in it, and then there wasn't any mites in that, so I said, "Yeah, I'm good." And then finally, I'd seen enough people having problems, and I think that Cayman was going through that one where he washed and it had like 30 mites in his wash or something, and so I went out and did me like an OA, and I have bottom boards, and I did an OA vaporization on my hives, and one of my hives dropped like 300 mites, and I was like, "Oh boy, I got mites."
Yeah.
So I've been after them ever since. But
yeah. Hey, do you do all that in the field, Philip, when you do it, or do you bring them home and do your samples?
no, I don't even sample it, Mark. After that, with the screen bottom boards, I've got one of those. It's the brand with the yellow top on it, whatever that is. That
Yeah.
And I've never even used it. It's in my kit, but all I do is I vaporize them, and then I come back in 24 hours or so, and I count how many mites have fallen through onto the sticky board.
Okay.
I
Yeah, I
used to,
did that for a while.
yeah, and to me that's fine. I'm not trying to get a percentage or meet some threshold. I'm going to hit them all, and if they have 0, I might not hit them again. But if they have
Yeah.
20, I'm going to hit them again. And if they have,
Mhm.
some of mine had this year, some of mine had thousands of mites.
And you can still see which ones are your best colonies that way too.
Right.
The ones that have less drops.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, the one I had this year, I had to treat it 10 times to get the drops down, and I got them down to 1 mite drop. But they went from 500 to like 1,200 down to 200, and they just kept knocking them down until I got them down. Took 10 times, and I got them knocked down to 1. But that one, that was the only one I had to do. Most of mine, I only had to hit 3 or 4 times. But I don't see how I can have one with mites that drop 500, and I can have one right next to it that drops 2. I don't understand how people can do spot checks and really, take care of their problem. But
Yeah. Well, that too is the one you want to breed from.
well, unfortunately, the queens that I raised this year were off of that one that had a lot of mites. Now they're as gentle as all get out, and they produced a lot of honey too. But they're not going to produce honey this fall. They struggle with mites so much that I went in, and they're whereas all the others, I put my honey supers back on to just for them to clean them out. I didn't leave them out for them to open clean this year. So when I finally got around to really needing to put my honey supers on, all I really did was I had them above the inner cover. So I just pulled the inner cover out and let the bees move up into them. Well, some of those some of mine, that bees had already moved up through the inner cover, the hole in the inner cover, and was filling that with honey anyway. But that one wasn't at all. And then I went back to put some more supers on, and that one, they do have a full honey super above the bottom deep, but it's been there all season. It's not one I'm going to take, but the one above that was bone dry. So I don't think I'll get any honey off of them this year. Maybe a tiny bit, but not much. But
I
that's
do
also
think that's the way to go. You know, whenever
Yeah.
you put your honey supers back on the hive, honestly, that's the way to do it if you can. Is if you put them out and just let them rob it, man, they tear that cone all to pieces.
Yeah, they
And
do.
it takes time to fix that. You know, it's
Yeah.
just like building a house. You know, building a new house goes quicker than tearing one down and rebuilding it, right?
Yeah. The thing that I did notice though is all my colonies where I felt like I had new queens in them, if I raised them or if I caught swarms or whatever, they are way outperforming what I call the older queens, you know, the year-old queens. So I'm starting to buy into that replace the queens every year theory. I don't know that I'll do it next year, but I can definitely see where that works.
Yeah. I like good supersedure too. That's something I've been studying more on is good supersedure. Been playing with it a little bit and trying to learn some. What I've been doing is taking like, say I know it's a 2-year-old queen and she's or maybe 3, whatever, and she's starting to play out, right?
Right.
I'll open up that colony and I'll find her and I'll get her and I'll cut her 2 back legs off or I'll cut one leg off, you know, and I'll put her right back in there and she'll continue laying. You know, if I cut 2 back legs off, she's going to drag around there kind of slow, but she's going to lay. And I've been watching to see if they supersede. And what I want is I'll come back about the time one order come back and see if both queens are in there. If I can find one that's come back plus her. In other words, what I'm saying is I want them to supersede and not kill her immediately, but wait till the other one gets back and land and then take care of business.
Right.
Now, I don't know whether it's possible, but I've seen it. I've seen it happen. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. The only time I ever had 2 queens in a colony, I thought, okay, I'll make a split. So I moved the queen over and they built another queen cell right away. And then I knocked that down. And right after I knocked it down, I was like, I shouldn't have done that. But she laid enough eggs that they did another one, you know, and after that, I just let them take care of it. But yeah, I thought I was getting too that queen looked great, but she wasn't any good. That's the reason they were letting her hang around. She wasn't any threat to anything.
Yeah.
So having 2 queens don't mean you can make 2 colonies automatically because one of them's probably not any good.
Well, what I was thinking, if you could get them to do that, you know, and let it come back without killing the old queen immediately, you wouldn't have so many failures that way.
Yeah,
you know, they would keep the old queen around to build another one.
Yeah.
I think it's the virgin a lot of times that kills her, right?
I think you're right. Yeah.
Oh, but
yeah,
I don't know.
That's the reason I like that double screen board idea, is because you can improve your chances. You know, if you make a little split right on top.
Yeah, they're handy.
Improve your chances of getting at least one of them back, especially this time of year. That'd be really handy.
Yeah.
But
I like using them to overwinter the smaller ones too. Just set that on top of a big hive and put that big little right on top of that. Works great.
Yeah, I may do that with one of mine this year.
They don't eat as many stores because they're getting that heat from the bottom. You know, so it helps.
Do you purposely try to take nukes into winter, Mark?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, mine are July. I usually stop about mid-July. I may go that 3rd week of July, but it starts getting tough around here with all the dragonflies and stuff. And it's just like you're beating yourself to death and you ain't getting nowhere. So I usually quit then.
Mhm.
Mm.
So most of mine are mid-July queens.
Yeah, I've always taken a few nukes, and most of the time it was like, probably late swarms and splits that didn't quite grow or whatever. But this year I only have one nuke that
Mm.
I think I need to take. Some of my, I caught a caught swarm over at my mother-in-law's house, and I caught it late, but I think it'd been there longer than I realized. But when I got into it, I thought, okay, I got plenty of time. But when I went back over there, I only have 4 frames in that. Well, I have 8, but they're 4 on top of 4. But there
Mm.
was no frames in the bottom. I didn't put any frames in the bottom.
Mhm.
And when I went back over there about a week ago to try to move them into, I was just going to move them from a 4 frame into a 6 frame nuke, which is what I ended up doing because that's all I had with me. They had built the comb all down in the bottom of that box that I just basically had
Mm.
to throw out. Yeah, and that was all in the fall. They built a bunch of comb down there.
We
Yeah, you
got one
must
of
have had a good
mine.
flow.
Yeah, I think we've gotten this I don't know how because we hadn't gotten enough rain to have a good flow, but there's a
They
there's
found
a
something.
there's a drainage ditch behind my house. It's just concrete, but not very far down. It's just natural and it's grown up with trees and stuff. And all those I went down there and saw a little bit of goldenrod right next to the water. That was the only thing that was growing. But there
It's
was a bee.
producing.
There was a bee working it. And there's
Yeah.
another plant I didn't recognize. And then
Mhm.
there's a bunch of oh, what's that makes everybody sneeze?
Ragweed.
Yeah, ragweed. Bunch of ragweed down
Mhm.
there, and the bees work that too. But yeah, y'all were talking about fall honey. I love fall honey. I'm going to try to pull some. I don't know that I'll get any down in the country. It's just really too dry down there for it. But I put the supers on just in case. But
And
I
what we did get last year, it was the first run of fall honey that we'd gotten.
mhm,
And I will say, I did take to it better than I did that privet and blackberry in early spring. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
mhm.
It it just had just had a better taste, I reckon. I mean, all of it good. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah,
I kind of favored that much more after getting a good taste of it.
yeah. I think when I went in about a week ago, I think I had at least 100 pounds, and the bees are really really busy, and there's some white wax being built and all that. I'm hoping I'll get a couple of 100 pounds off my colonies here in Capel, maybe 300. I got 225 last year, so
Mhm.
we'll see how it goes this year. I'm hoping for 400 off of both places, but we'll see.
Yeah.
That'll get me over 1,000. That's what I'm shooting for.
Have you got quite a bit of pulled honeycomb?
Yeah, I do now. Well, I don't know what you call quite a bit. I've got enough to get at least one on each box that I have.
Right.
Mhm.
That's a start.
Yeah,
That's a start.
I mean, I
That'll
went
get it.
from you know what? I didn't manage that very well this year. I made honey, but I didn't. I should have done like Gus Mitchell does. He leaves like 4 or 6 frames, and he puts in. I think he leaves in 6 and puts 4 fresh foundations in every box.
Mhm.
And I was going to do that, but I just didn't do it. I did pull everything back to 8 in a frame and put those 2 in another box and add all that together.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But yeah, I didn't pull as much this year as I did last year. Last year I went from, oh gosh, I only had like 3 boxes drawn here, and I ended last year with 9. And then I had about 4 in the country, and I ended up with 13 drawn. And this year out in the country, I went from 14 to like 18 or 19, and I think I went from 9 to about 11 or 12 boxes here. And I could
Mhm.
have done better had I mixed it like I should have.
Seems like I'm always trying to get more honey boxes, get them pulled.
Right.
I try to do minimum of 10 brand new ones every year.
Hmm.
Mhm.
That that increases me at least 10 boxes every year, right?
It makes a
Uh,
huge difference in the amount of honey you get. That's for sure.
yeah, that if you just keep doing 10, at least 10 every year, that adds up pretty quick.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the other thing I've been messing with, and it was more out of just tired of not getting honey, was I've been doing a little bit more single deep brood management, or single deep brood management. So, but that really does work. Now I'll have to feed when I pull that honey off, but yeah, if you don't give them any other choice but to store it there, they're going to make you at least a box of honey.
Yeah. I don't really shoot for single brood management because my theory is this: the bees can take care of that comb a whole heck of a lot better than I can store it out here in my building.
Good point. Yeah.
Oh,
Well, what I tried to do was after the spring flow, which was like first week of July when I pulled it, I tried to put back on a box with all just empty frames, but put 2 drone combs in there to try to pull them up, but it didn't work. They didn't come up and draw it out hardly at all,
Mhm.
because we were in the dirt. I really don't blame them. They might go ahead, but the thing is, I fed them also. So when I feed them, I mark an X on those frames, even the ones that were empty.
right.
But then when I go back in, if they're still empty when I stop feeding, I'll scrub that X out. That's okay for them to fill with honey. I can take it. But if they did put anything at all in it, plus I've got that damn weed out here that messes up your honey, so I
You
can't.
really got to pay attention, ain't you, over there
Yeah,
where you're at?
yeah. If I let that stuff get in my honey, I won't be able to sell it at all.
Was it kind of like something like folk did with that Mount Laurel or something?
It probably is similar to that. It makes your throat just feel like you're having a reaction to it, because it's real irritating. It's called snow on the prairie. It's what they call it. But
Now, you were talking a minute ago about Gus and them frames. When you put them in there, is that for the fall flow? Let them start drawing out if
he
they're going to
does
do
that
anything?
he does that in the spring.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember, he has them in there a certain way. I think he leaves 2 empty in the middle, and then 2 more or 3 more on each side, and maybe 2 at the outsides, something like that.
He puts the blank ones are more in the middle because
Yeah.
that's where they're going to work first.
Right.
But he'll have a pulled one in between. He have a pulled one, and then a blank in the middle, and then so on. And don't do but like 2 in each box.
Yeah, and then he'll come back and pull 2 out later to go back to 8 frames, I think.
Yeah. Do you run 8 or 9?
I'm running. I run, if they're all drawn out, I run 8 now.
Okay.
But I mostly ran 9s this year, but this fall I went to 8. What's funny is I ordered one of those little plastic spacer things
Yeah.
that you push down in there, and they sent me the 8 frame one and not the 9 frame. So it was like an Amazon order. So I contacted them and said, "You sent me the wrong one. You sent me an 8 frame," which I thought it was. I didn't even know there was such a thing as an 8 frame spacer for a 10 frame box, but apparently
Yeah.
there is.
Did you like that?
But yeah, they sent me the 9, and I used it for a while, and then I was like, wait a minute, I got that 8 frame. I went back out in my shed and just found it and started using it. So yeah, I like using those, especially
Yeah,
with
Bob Benny does that, because he has that Silver Queen uncapper and it works better, I run 9s, but I'm thinking about going to 8s in a 10 frame just to lighten my load up.
It really well it it actually makes your boxes heavier.
Does it?
Yeah, well, there's more honey and less frame, and the honey is heavier than the frames.
It's gonna be more wax too, ain't it?
Yeah,
Really.
yeah,
I would
and
think.
you'll get more wax when you shave it down. But Gus has these really cool things that have these real thick finger like things, and he can put it in there at an angle and jam it, and you just pull it or just rotate it, and it makes them all space perfectly. Mine, if I did that with mine, I'd break it.
I just do the end stepper motion. You shake them,
it,
set them up on there.
I think you can do that with 9. You can shake it and throw them up there. With 8,
Yeah.
they'd probably be all on one side.
Of course, I blow my bees out too. You blow your bees out with a blower, or do you?
I try to, but my blowers, I don't have the real strong blower. It's a Ryobi 18-volt blower.
I've got a Black and Decker, and it's on its last year. I think I'm gonna get me a good DeWalt.
I use Honey Bandit on a fume board, and then I blow them, and then I brush them. Because especially here at the house, you bring a lot of bees in when you're harvesting honey. So I usually get one of my kids to stand at the back door, and I brush the bees off, and I open the door and stick them in. They take it.
Yeah.
It takes a long time, but try to keep as many of those bees out of the house as I can.
And we with you on that. We shake their tails off of that thing, knock them off as much as you can.
Yeah.
One of us sweeping real quick, throw it in the box, put a lid on.
Yeah. Yeah, but boy, I tell you what, when you're harvesting, it's usually the dearth, and you open that box even a little bit, there's just a cloud of bees trying to get in there.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Mark, we're an hour and 30 minutes in. I'm not going to drag you through the whole 2 hours. I know you got to get you some rest and everything, bro.
I'm having a ball.
Well, hey, if you want to hang out, that's up to you. You tell us when on that.
Are you working, Mark?
I've got to be in. I got to get up at midnight and be in that truck at 1 in the morning. I do that
really?
every Sunday. Yeah.
Really? Okay. Wow.
Like I said, you just tell us when, or if we get too much dead air, we'll head on out either way. But
I'll just walk away.
So where you headed, Mark?
Oh, I start out in Batesville, Arkansas. It's about a 4-hour drive. Then go to BB, Arkansas, Little Rock, Clarksville. Just make my route.
Clarksville. Yeah, I know some people it's Clarksville, Texas, right?
No, Arkansas.
Oh, Clarksville, Arkansas.
Yeah, about 50 miles east of Oklahoma line.
Yeah, there's a Clarksville in Texas too, over near Texas, on our side of Texarkana.
Yeah. They got a new, well, it ain't new. It's a couple-year old now. The Central Beekeeping Supply. I guess y'all seen his.
Yeah, I watch his
YouTube
YouTube
channel.
videos. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's in Russellville.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You were talking about the Delta. I grew up in the Delta in Louisiana.
Well, I forgot you said you grew up in Louisiana.
it froze up on us already.
Mark froze up on us.
I was thinking, man, our phone started already. And here we go. But
for a change.
yeah, thank goodness. Those bugs, I hope have been worked out a little bit. But so when you gonna try to look to harvest, Philip?
What was funny was when I went in a week ago, I had one box on one colony that was probably half capped. Matter of fact, I got to it a little late because they're not going to draw that out very wide because they'd already capped it with 10 frames in there. But I could go in if I wanted to do 2 harvests. I could go in probably middle of this month, October. But I think I'll wait till about November 1st and try to get it all at one shot.
Ours are trying to build out that blasted open air colony, buddy. They got after it. The ones in the boxes, they're just kind of piddling around, drawing a little here and there the last few weeks. But that bunch up in that tree, I guess they knew they had to do something to survive more, I reckon. But buddy, them little rascals have got some beautiful white comb up there. And well, there's enough out here for you to be drawing something.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They're motivated.
Mm-hmm.
It's just another.
You think they'll make it through the winter?
That's a good question.
Nah, I don't think they will, especially if we get that January, February, them teams come in here for a couple days, then
Because they don't have, I mean, they've got a good bit built, but they don't have like enough to really do anything.
Yeah, I don't know of anybody that really gets those through. Maybe in Florida or something, South Florida.
Yeah.
Maybe down at the tip of Texas. They could, but
Well, and two, if they build any much more, the limb ain't gonna hold what they got. They own a twig basically. So if they get too big, we'll find them on the ground, I reckon. But unless I can get a lift to get back in there to them, they just gonna stay up in that tree until.
Yeah, because we're probably not going to get a list anytime soon.
I mean, I guess I could pull a cage and throw some buckshot in that shotgun.
that's
And,
what. Yeah, that's what
Like
Brad
that.
did, right? Wasn't that Brad that did that?
mm-hmm,
He had a
shoot them out.
video shooting them down.
Yeah, we'd have to. Mike said, get the chainsaw. I don't know about that. That's a little high up for me to be operating a saw of any kind.
You got to get those climbing boots where you see those videos where those guys climb up in the top of those trees and start cutting them down from the top.
My brothers have boots like that. He was a lineman, like
Oh
on the
yeah.
power line crew.
Uh-huh.
And he still has all that stuff.
But-
But there's no way he'd climb that tree for that beat on it. There's no way.
Yeah, send me up there and cut that limb down
Yeah,
for me.
no.
Put a rope
Oh,
on it. We can use them.
Lisa's on here. She needs to give us that report on that cutout she did today.
Oh,
Did
yeah,
you
we
guys
didn't
catch
see
any of
the
that?
live.
Mhm.
I was at one of the kids' birthday parties. And
Yeah.
I didn't catch it. That's one we got to go back and watch.
It was pretty interesting. She ended it before she. I don't know if she ever found the queen, but there was still a cluster of bees they were trying to get corralled.
Mm-hmm. Up, she found the queen.
Good
All
deal.
right, good
Yep,
deal, good deal.
successful venture.
Lord willing, they'll make it through for you too.
For real.
Yeah, it was a big old colony, at least by the amount of comb she cut off. I didn't catch the first part of it. They had already cut all the comb out when I started watching.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll do cutouts. Don't get me wrong, but we sure don't push for it. We just
I don't
just want
even.
to.
Yeah. When I first got into bees, I was like hoping somebody would call me, and I was thinking about putting my name in the hat. Now, no,
Stay away from that.
I don't even. Yeah, bees are a lot
Oh,
easier to come
yeah.
by than having to do that for them.
Now, if they're easy to get to, yeah, well, we'll go out there and get them and all that. But now, if you don't want me to put it back together and you got your own handyman or something like that, most definitely, yeah, I'll come. But
Right.
we do this construction work all day, every day, and I don't want to tear out for bees, then put everything back together.
Yeah. I tried to do a cutout of a limb. A guy had some storm damage and the limb fell and it was kind of hanging precariously on a fence. And he got some people out there to cut it out and the bees started stinging him. So he just Googled and found my name and I went out there and looked at it and I said, you know what? I got a chainsaw. I'll try to cut that out. It went way up past where they were going. And I cut out like 3 feet around the knot that they were going in. And it just kept going on up into that. It was a limb about that big around. And what was funny though is that I had did the best I could, and I left him with some honey bandit, and I said, "Keep squirting this in there, maybe they'll run out of there." But finally, they got the limb cut up somehow or another, and then what I did was like on a Wednesday or Thursday, and then like on a Sunday, I was out doing stuff, and he called me. He said, "My neighbor has a pile of bees in his backyard on the ground." And I said, "Yeah, that's probably them bees that are left." And he said, "Will you come get them?" I said, "Well, I got a couple of errands to run, but I'll swing by there." So I ran home, got a nuke box, and got some lemongrass oil. And I went over there, and sure enough, there was a little, about as big as this hat, little ball of bees on the ground. And I told him, I said, "I'll come over there and I'll see if they'll go in this box I bring." And he thought I was crazy, And I said, "Well, so I set the box down and I dripped a couple of drops of that lemongrass oil in the back of it. Took a little and rubbed a little on the entrance with a Q-tip, and put it about a foot away from those bees. And they kind of picked their heads up. And they all just marched right in that box. He thought I was a magician. So, had the neighbors out there. They thought it was the greatest thing I ever seen. But anyway, those bees were mean as hell. I ended up having to get rid of them anyway. They stinging my neighbors and everything else. Hey, Lisa.
Hey, man. You look like Mark's double.
Yeah.
I see that.
I got all dressed up. I got all dressed up and
no place to go.
and then I looked on here and it said started 56 minutes ago, and I'm like, oh man,
Oh,
missed the whole thing.
we came home. We came home about 4:00, and we had to take quite a few breaks because it got hot this afternoon. I'm glad we got the majority of it done this morning. My hair, I just got out of the shower. I didn't even blow dry my hair. But we came home and sat down and relaxed for a couple of hours, and we were going to go back and get the bees, and hopefully all of the bees would be in there, and they weren't. So we wound up having to vacuum some more and smoke them, and I sprayed honeybee, that, my spray, I call it honey thief, and to get them out from under the foragers were back, and they were trying to get into where the old hive was.
Right.
So anyway, we got the majority of the bees in the box, but there was a lot of bees. Oh my gosh. There was a lot of bees. We wound up with about 2 double deeps of bees. So we're going to go first thing early in the morning and get them.
All right.
Oh, there were 2 double deeps. I heard that.
That's a lot of bees.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was.
Go ahead.
I want to say it was. I didn't count the combs, but it was in between 2 floor joists, and it was almost the whole length of a 4-foot sheet of plywood, and whatever the width of those joists are.
Yeah, like 2 foot wide.
Yeah, it was like 2 foot by about 3 foot. So, but yeah, it was a pretty big hive. Found the queen. It took us forever to find the queen, though. The queen was in the left upper corner, right next to the entrance. So, but we found her and we got her in there. So we're hoping that all the bees got the memo and they'll go in the box. I wanted to see them march. They didn't march.
Did you put her in a cage, or did you just stick her
in
the box? Okay.
Well, I put her in a queen clip, and I rubber banded the queen clip, so hopefully she wouldn't get out. She was trying to get out. I thought she was thin enough that she could have gotten out of the queen clip. Hang on one second. My daughter just popped in. I raided your cabinet. Did you get that purple vinyl? I did earlier. Okay. Then I left these. Oh, oops. She raided my cupboard. She's my food thief. She comes and gets all my canned goods. Because I do a lot of canning, so she's like, "You got some beef tips?
You're the supermarket.
Love you. I'm on call tomorrow." Sorry, y'all.
It's all right.
Whew. But yeah, we found her. She was like right next to the entrance, in a cluster to the left of the entrance inside the shed. But she looked kind of skinny. She's a dark color queen. She wasn't as dark as I thought she was, but I thought she was a black queen. But I looked at her closer on the video clip. I'll get it all put together, and y'all, I got powder all over me. I just noticed, like, y'all, I'm the powder queen. I get out of the shower and I like poof powder everywhere. But yes, I'm in my pajamas. But yeah, she tons of eggs in there. Tons of eggs, tons of brood. It was probably the calmest colony I've ever dealt with. I mean, we probably could have done the majority of it without jackets and gloves, but I went in, the guard bees kept tapping us, and I had taken my hood off, my veil off, and I reached around, I asked Deirdre, I said, "Can you see if that's a bee on my head? Or if it's my ponytail?" And she said, "Oh, it's your ponytail." And about that time, I reached back there and she stung me. I was like, ponytails don't sting. So I just got stung the one time. So
All right,
don't-
Mark's back.
Hive.
Yeah, I
feel
lost
bad
my
when
internet
Mark-
connection.
You did?
Yeah,
Mark, you got a shirt on, man.
I
yeah.
know. I
Take
got
your
all
shirt
dressed
off.
up, and he came with a
You got all
shirt.
dressed up. I know, right? You came with a shirt. I said, I'm gonna have to get me some Carhartt overalls and come on with no shirt.
Y'all might. Philip made my wife's day. I went in there to reconnect on the internet, and my wife was just cracking up.
I can't. Now, I don't hardly ever wear these. I keep them on the shelf out of my cabin, and I just didn't have anything else to wear, and I wore them home. And I said, you know what? And I saw Mark's coming on. I said, yeah, I got to do that. I got to get those out.
know what would be for Halloween. Mark Miller with some overalls on.
Yeah, everybody can be Mark Miller for Halloween. Nobody will get it but us, but that'll be all right.
Yeah.
Well, it's comfy with the bee jacket on, you know. And you get rid of the shirt. It's comfy to me.
Well, you know, when it's like it was today, I almost went out with like bike shorts and a tank top and just wore a whole suit because it's actually cooler in those vented suits because the wind was blowing really nice today. So it probably would have been cooler, but I was in those big old baggy Levi jeans that I wear that's got room for 3 more people in there.
My grandfather on my mother's side, he wore overalls his whole life. He never buttoned the sides and he never buttoned the fly.
Yeah.
That's all I remember my granddaddy wearing. My granddaddy, my papa, that's all I remember him wearing was overalls except on Sundays. So
My
he
granddaddy
wore
wore
suit
them
to
all the
church
time.
because he was a
He
deacon.
was buried in them and went to church in them.
I don't blame him.
Yeah,
Of course, back then they wore them little hats, you know.
Yep.
And then they wore the button-up shirt to go on with their overall.
Yep.
Yeah, I can remember him and my grandmother had I don't know, the 50th wedding anniversary or 70th or 60th, I don't know what it was, but yeah, they convinced him to at least wear a new pair of overalls for that.
Not even let him break them in. That's wrong.
A new pair. He had a new pair of overalls. I think they buried him I don't remember which ones they buried him in. The decent pair anyway.
All right, as long as you're comfortable. That's the thing.
Yep. That's what I'm going for these days is comfort.
Yeah.
But man, I came in, I was rank. We took our boots off in the car, and between the body odor and the boot seat, I was like, "Oh, I'm going straight to the shower." I had y'all on in the car listening to you. I was like, but I wasn't texting. There was a deer on the side of the road.
There's something about those cutouts, man. They take hours. I guess if you get good at it, you can do them a little quicker. But
well, I mean, I guess the most time that was spent was finding the darn queen because there was so many bees. I'm like, oh my gosh. And Yappy kept saying, go look under this, go look under that. I finally texted him. I said, we found her. He says, where was she? I said, she was up by the entrance. She goes, outside. Or he said, outside? I said, no, it was on the inside. But he was a hot mess. He was nice to get in there and guide us, though.
We had to go back and check that out a little bit.
Well, I was gonna bring him in the show, but I didn't even realize. I went back later and saw that, and I was like, dang, that whole thing recorded sideways. I'm like, I'm sorry, y'all.
You didn't see my comments were
like,
put in there. I said you went to the Bob Walker School of Cinematography.
I didn't see that. Yeah, I guess so.
Bob, he's famous for. I got to put the phone down. I got to put the phone down.
Yep, that's the way it was for me. And then my phone went dead, And I was like, well, I'm not going to record some of this. And she was like, at this point, I don't care. But
Yeah.
we recorded some when we got back. We recorded some of the vacuuming up some on the outside because like I said, the foragers had come home and they were on the outside trying to get in. I was on the inside of the shed trying to smoke them out because Deirdre was on the outside of the shed with the vacuum. So, but we wound up. We only had to vacuum there towards the end just to get the stragglers up. Never did March, even with the queen in the box. Whatever.
It's hard to get them to do that march, at least for us.
Yeah,
I know those feral bees are not trained very well.
No, they're not bad.
But we did a mite wash on them, and there was 0 mites. So
Right.
that's good. Good strong bees.
I think you got a better chance of getting them to march if you move them away from where they're used to being.
Yeah.
All that smells in there. They don't know.
Yeah, they wanted to go back home. They were still, we left and there was still some in the window. I tried to smoke them off the window and
Right.
I was like, well, some are just taking one for the team. They're just, they're just going to have to stay because I ain't fighting with them.
Yeah. How far away was it from your house?
Let's see. It was about 20 miles, about 15, 20 miles. It wasn't too bad.
It's not bad, but it's not something you want to go back to very often.
No. But I mean, I work in that town, so I mean, it was an Enterprise, and it wasn't too far from our office. But what happened? One of my friends called me, and she went to this estate sale. She called me Friday, and she said, "Lisa, I just went to an estate sale." She said, "And they've got bees in the shed." I was like, I mean, okay. And she said, no, there's a beehive in the shed. She says, I don't know if it's in the wall or if it's in the floor. She said, but they're not above. She said, if you want them, I told them you get them for free. I was like, I ain't going to get them for free. There ain't no such thing as free bees unless it's a swarm.
Right.
And so I talked to the guy and I gave him a quote and he was like, well, we had somebody come out before and they did it for free, but they came back. I'm like, well, you get what you pay for, So,
Yeah,
or don't pay for it.
Oh yeah, I'd have that person come back and get them.
Yeah.
I'd called Richard Woodham, our southern director down here, the Alabama Beekeepers Association. He said, Lisa, if we have to do construction, the crazy thing is there was no construction. The boards weren't even nailed down.
Yeah, I noticed when she picked up that
tried.
board, it just popped right up. Yeah.
And I tried to nail them back down, but for some reason my Milwaukee nailer was not working. It was turned on and everything, but I don't know why. The charge on the battery may not have been strong enough. But it turned on and it let me switch modes, but it was not shooting nails in there. I said, screw it. I was like, they weren't nails in there when we got there. But we got some of that spray kills. I sprayed it down, and so hopefully they won't go back in there. So
yeah, what did you put in there to keep them from going back? I thought they'd always go back.
I sprayed it down really good with that honey thief that I mixed up, and then I went back on the boards. I sprayed where we had scraped the comb down. I had sprayed it with honey thief. And then I went back in and sprayed it with Kills, the paint to cover because that's what Richard told me. He said, that's the best way to keep them from going back in. He said, that way if you're spraying Kills over it, you're covering up any remnants of the comb. And I mean, we scraped it clean, but there's going to be that imprint of the comb and the smell. So, but I mean, there was still some bees in there, and the guys came and picked up the stuff from the estate sale, the rest of it. And I told him, I was like, look, there's going to be some bees in there, but there won't be in a week or two.
Yeah.
If you leave them alone, a couple of weeks, they'll be unalive. So, anyway.
Well, hopefully that pull through the season good for you and be some good stock come spring.
I hope so. We brought home a 5-gallon bucket full of honey and comb.
Mhm.
So I got to figure out a way to press all that out. I need to get me a cider press because I don't do press and strain, crush and strain.
It
Mhm.
takes a
No.
lot of patience, that's for sure.
I
You
know,
get some good
I
wax
know.
out of it though.
Especially 5 gallons of it. I'll get a lot of wax out of it.
Yeah, but
It's worth it.
still,
The work.
I'm with you on that. I ain't fixing to squeeze that much comb. That's
Yeah, it's a
crazy.
lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I figure it'll be worth the investment to get a cider press.
Yeah.
I got one on Vivor. I think it was like 60 or $70. There's two of them
Oh,
on there.
heck yeah, that'd be worth it.
I think
Mhm.
if you put it
Yeah.
in one of those paint strainer bags
Yeah.
Mhm.
and then just mash the heck out of it and then hang it over a
Mhm.
5-gallon bucket and just leave it there for a couple of
Yeah.
days, a lot of it
Yeah.
would come out.
Mhm.
I
And
don't
that's
know.
what I do with our cappings inside.
Yeah.
Drain them out
Well, I
into
do
the
that with my
tube.
cappings, and y'all, my right hand is so eat up with arthritis. It hurts. It hurts now.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I'm like, oof, I don't know. Like I said, I get one of them cider presses.
that's the way mine is, Lisa. When I use that hot knife a lot, I can't
Mhm.
even hardly use my wrist no more.
Yep,
Mhm.
it hurts. I got it. It sounds disgusting, but I was delivering a baby one time, and when it was flaring, and the girl clamped down on my hand, and I screamed in the middle of the delivery. It was like I screamed louder than she did.
Ouch.
No.
Said a few choice words, and after it was over, she goes, "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you." I was like,
Broke
"Honey,
your arm.
no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry." She had some strong thigh muscles, though.
Bless that
Oh,
little woman's heart that was having the
uh,
baby, right?
woo, yeah, I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
She was like, "What are y'all doing down there?"
Oh no. Well, bad thing is she came in complete and she didn't have an epidural, so she felt every bit of it.
Every bit of it. Yeah.
Lord.
That's about as
So,
neutral as you can get right there.
yep,
Mm.
yep. But anywho, so I missed some of what Mark was talking about earlier, and I was listening to the Queen. Didra and I got into a conversation after we were listening, and we were like throwing around all these theories and wondering if all this breeding queens and stuff, if we're not breeding the good stuff out of them instead of breeding the good stuff into them.
I don't doubt it, Lisa.
I mean, really, I mean, I know when you're breeding queens, you're like really trying to get specific genetics, but you look at these feral bees, those feral bees, that was a big dadgum colony, and there wasn't one mite in the bottom of that jar. Not one.
Mhm.
I mean, there were beetles in the colony. Of course, it was on the ground.
Yeah.
But it's like, you want to get these specific genetics, but it does make you wonder if you're breeding the stuff out of them that you really want to keep in them.
Well,
But trying
like
to
I
get,
said before, Lisa, just do your mite washes and keep up with it.
oh yeah,
Check every hive and breed from them that have the lowest count.
yep. Well, we decided off of this call, we'll probably be breeding off of this queen next year or grafting off this queen next year because she's a good, strong queen. And I mean, there probably was, I framed up 10 frames, at least 10 frames of brood, but two of them, so there was 12, there were at least 12 or 13 combs with brood in it. And but they were thin. They were like kind of narrow because they were in between the floor and the dirt. So they were probably about 6 inches. So I was able to get like in some of them they were so thin I could get two of those combs in a frame. So, but I framed up about 10 or 12 frames of that brood comb.
That's a lot. That's a lot in a
Yeah,
cutout.
yeah.
Hmm.
So, got
Yeah,
a
that's
lot
the
of
thing you want.
lot of honey.
I would feed them a real light syrup and just feed it to them real slow, and they'll repair every bit of that.
Oh yeah. Well, right now we've got a bit of a flow on. I just added 3 supers to three, or a super to 3 of my hives. I'm gonna see if I can get some fall honey. They were filling up the. We had a couple of empty deeps in the brood chamber, and they're already packing it in. I mean, they was drawn comb, but they were empty, and they're filling it up. So I went ahead and put supers on those 3 hives because I had one that I was afraid she was close to leaving because she had a ton of drone brood in there. I was beginning to wonder if I didn't have a drone layer, but I don't. She's laying consistent eggs in there. I guess they were just a healthy hive.
Yeah.
But all that drones hatched out now, so they'll be throwing them out soon because it's finally starting to cool down from here.
Mine,
We
mine,
ain't had a drone since
Early.
late
yeah.
June.
That's
I
the
mean,
only hive I saw them in.
Mine will keep a few drones around through the winter, but they throw them out in August when it gets real
Yeah.
hot and dry. They'll be, I'll think I had a chemical poison, and there'll be just piles of bees out front. And
Mhm.
I'll go, wait a minute, and I'll look through them and go, oh, and those are just drones.
Mhm.
There'll be hundreds of drones on the ground in front
Yeah.
of the colonies.
Well, I figured they'll be kicking them out. They usually kick them out sometime in October here. So, but like I said, that was the only hive I saw drones in. I mean, you'd see 1 or 2 in the other hives, but this one there
Yeah,
were lots of
I'm
them
not
with
seeing a
all that
whole
drone
lot,
brood.
but I'm seeing some. And I'm
Well,
seeing a little bit of drone brood too right
this
now.
one had total about a third of a frame
Hmm.
of one side of a frame of drone brood. And I said, we need to look deeper in here and see if we see a queen. Well, we found the queen, and she was kind of skinny, and I was like, I don't know about this one. So we
Just
came out, we went and checked it yesterday, and she's laying single eggs. So, and I guess she just wanted to relax and take a break and make some of those drones, like we were talking about a healthy hive, just relax and take a break for a little while and lay some drones. I don't know. Bees don't read the books like we do.
No.
where was those? Do you have plastic foundation, or do you have?
Yeah, I got plastic foundation.
Did they build those drone cells in front of the plastic, or was it somewhere else?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay.
That was what was weird is it was on the frame, on the foundation,
They
and
just.
it wasn't down. I mean, it was like middle of the frame down,
Mhm.
and I don't remember if we've got mediums in that. Yeah, we got mediums in that colony. So I was kind of surprised they didn't use the bottom of the mediums because they had used the bottom of the mediums. I don't know if she just got a slow start after she got back from mating and maybe laid those drones, and I don't know. She just isn't as big as Latifa. Latifa has a fat butt on her, so I mean she is a good sized girl. She's a big, fat bottom girl. She's a queen,
Mhm.
Queen, the singing group queen, fat bottom
Yeah.
girl.
That's kind of like.
But Tidra got in that colony and she goes, "Oh my gosh, that girl looks like Queen Latifah." I said, "That's the perfect name for her." I said, "Baby got
Yeah.
back."
Yeah, when they're just dragging it around, they got a big one.
And she's a big girl. But
is that the one you named Latifah?
yeah, yeah. Well, she
I
is a
call
big
them
girl.
giants.
That part, okay, the part of her abdomen closest to the thorax, I swear, is a good half a centimeter wide. It is huge. It is huge. And she is long. You cannot miss her in the hive. Well, listen, guys, I'm fixing to bug out. I'll probably stay in the chat for a few minutes, but I'm on call tomorrow, and I've got to get up early and go pick up that darn hive. So, y'all have a good night. Thanks
right.
to y'all that joined me on the live this afternoon. It was fun.
All
I'll
right.
have to do some more of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. See ya.
Take
All
care,
right, good
Bye,
night.
Lisa.
Bye
Take care.
bye.
Bye.
Yeah, it ain't gonna be too long. We're gonna close it on
Yep.
off. I said we get ready. Begin
Yeah,
that work
starting
week.
to yawn a little bit.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, it's about time to head in.
yes, sir. Well, Mark, we appreciate you coming in, and
We do. We had a good time with you, Mr. Mark.
I appreciate it, y'all. I appreciate you having me on. I didn't know if I learned anybody anything or not, but I try to learn somebody something if I can.
I'm sure you did, Mr.
yeah,
Mark.
yes.
Absolutely.
Hey, and too, brother, that phone is always on. Feel free, like we talked the other day. You know,
Mhm.
just conversate or
Yeah, same
what have
here,
you.
Tim.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Same here. I'm always on the road, so just call.
We'll sure do it. Philip,
Yeah,
we appreciate you coming in with your
Okay.
overalls or suspenders there.
yeah, I love an
The
outfit,
overalls.
Part
man.
of the fan club.
Yeah,
Old
got it
president
going
up
on.
there.
That's it.
But
I'm gonna have to do a video breakdancing in my overalls.
There you go.
Yeah, I
Get some
want to
of
see
Bob's
that,
new
right?
gloves, you know. Boom, boom.
Hey, I want to see this video, Mr. Mark.
Yeah.
old school disco light out there too.
Something.
But,
Absolutely.
all right, y'all,
That's
gentlemen.
All
it.
right.
Thanks again, Mark. Appreciate you, brother, and God bless you, Lord willing. We'll see y'all on the next one.
Good
Y'all
night,
take
Bye,
care.
guys.
y'all.
Y'all
All
take
right.
Bye.
care. Bye.